Viewers, very warm welcome to another episode of V News English program Perspectives, in which we bring before you informed and timely perspectives of some of the leading experts who closely watch some of the most significant developments happening around the world. Viewers, US is definitely the most consequential power and nation in the world, which affects world affairs at a global scale. But one thing which is quite interesting is President Trump's thaw and goodwill, which seems to be improving with every passing day towards Pakistan. In order to try to make sense of it, why it is happening, what does this mean for the region, for Pakistan, for the US. We are joined today by one of the leading political analyst and expert who closely watches US policy and politics for several decades now, Mr. Faiz Rehman from the US. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Rehman.
Thank you, Mohammed. I appreciate it.
So let me, thank you. So let me ask you at the outset that what do you make of the US interest in appreciating Pakistan frequently, ranging from President Trump's first address at the US Congress, and then inviting Pakistan's army chief for a lunch and repeatedly appreciating Pakistan. What does this mean, and why US is appreciating Pakistan so much and so frequently?
Thank you very much once again. First of all, it reaffirms Pakistan's a long relationship, strategic, tactical, and with many aspects, it reaffirms U.S.-Pakistan relationship. Yes, it's not going anywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere. It has seen its ups and downs, as we know, but it's a relationship which is here to stay. And of course, because of several reasons. Your audience, both domestic and international, they understand since the very beginning, since the founding of Pakistan, Pakistan has aligned itself with the Western bloc, with the Western basically civilization, and there were several reasons. Muhammad Ali, as you know, when Liaqat Ali Khan, the first Prime Minister of Pakistan, was given the choice to either go to Moscow first. Actually, he was invited to Moscow to visit Moscow, and then Washington. So he chose to visit Washington. And since then, Pakistan, during the entire Cold War, Pakistan was totally aligned with the Western world, with the quote unquote the free world. And our neighbor India, they chose to be basically non-aligned in the name only, but of course they were totally aligned with the Soviet Union. So the Americans see that value, especially those who have some insight in the history, those who understand history, those who understand geopolitics and geoeconomics now. They know Pakistan has played a very vital, very important role in strengthening, for good or bad, Western dominance, if I may call it, in the world affairs, when a new world order was created after the World War II, and then again when the Soviet Union collapsed, Pakistan actually helped strengthen that that world order. Actually, Pakistan was part of that, creating that new world order after the collapse. As we all know, the part Pakistan played in the in the fall of, I think, this, not just the Soviet Union, but because of the Afghan Jihad and its role repelling the Soviet invasion, eventually, which resulted into the total collapse of the Soviet Union.
But Mr. Rehman, let me briefly interrupt you to ask a follow-up question. But these are historical facts, which Democrat presidents like Mr. Biden are also familiar with. But why the Trump administration recognizes these and appreciates these, unlike his predecessor?
Okay, so that's a great question, and I think it's also for the purpose of your international audience. Historically speaking, Republicans have been closer to Pakistan's position, and they better understood Pakistan's importance in the overall scheme of things when it comes to, American power and American outreach to the world. And Pakistan did play actually not exactly true that, only during Republican presidents, Pakistan was more active, but throughout the history. But I think if you look at the domestic policies and domestic politics, Muhammad Ali, our presidents, especially Democratic Party and the Democratic presidents, they've been more inward-looking, leaders. Why? Because, they're more focused on bigger government, welfare programs, bigger budgets, lots of government spending. And, and opposed to the Republicans are like, leaner governments, not too much welfare for the citizens. I mean, welfare programs, charity, and then they are also, they have a bigger sense of geopolitics and international politics, actually. So that's probably one of the reasons that you see whenever Democratic presidents come, Pakistan was kind of, even during the Clinton administration, if you remember, Pakistan actually paid some price for being not too democratic, and of course some of the other economic issues and regional issues. But during the Clinton administration, India rose, and India basically became very close to the Americans. And then when we come to Obama, another big Democratic president, Obama was the person and who had Hillary Clinton as his Secretary of State. They actually played a big role in dehyphenating Pakistan from India and actually grouped Pakistan with Afghanistan. They were the ones who established the first bureau in the State Department, where they call it AFPAC, not even PACAF, AFPAC. So Pakistan was grouped and hyphenated with Afghanistan, and India was basically left alone as supposedly a major regional power to counter and to balance the advancements of the Chinese. So if this is somehow, going back to your question, yes, Trump is a Republican president, of course, and he relies a lot on some of the think tanks here, Republican think tanks, Heritage Foundation for that matter, which is a very influential think tank here. And even though he denied that, the Project 2025, which was written by one of the senior fellows at the Heritage Foundation, it seems to be a blueprint for his ideas and for his actions worldwide, and even for the domestic purposes. So why Trump is choosing to shower so much praise and repeatedly kind of going back and forth and again praising Pakistan and Pakistan's leaders, Pakistan's cooperation, Pakistan's military might repeatedly. Just this is amazing that he is in the same breath again hyphenating from Clinton to coming back to now Trump's tenure, the second. You see that the again rehyphenating of India and Pakistan in a very equal way, on equal terms, praising both as huge military powers, praising them for their nuclear might, praising them for their leadership, both the leaders, great leaders. So you see a sea change, especially, you didn't even see it during even another Republican, for example, even Bush Jr. or Bush Sr. They didn't go all the way to praise Pakistan and bring Pakistan and India in this way, which Pakistan's been basically asking for. Yes, they want good relationship.
Let me ask a follow-up question so that you can elaborate this very profound point a bit further. I've noticed three things which you have argued today. Number one, that unlike Democrats, which have perhaps been traditionally more demanding on human rights, democracy, civil liberties, and so on and so forth, the Republicans have been more appreciative of Pakistan's vital role in geopolitics and international security towards US interests as well. Secondly, you mentioned a very important point that the Democrats, whether it was Obama or whether it was the predecessor, Mr. Biden,
Yep.
They saw Pakistan from Afghan lens, hence the term AFPAC, whereas they saw India as a potential counterweight to Chinese rise. Absolutely. But this particular recent short but very intense conflict between India and Pakistan seems to have changed the way Washington looks at Pakistan and India. This conflict, it seems, in the eyes of President Trump, has re-hyphenated Pakistan and India, perhaps downgraded India as falling short of the US expectations of containing China, while it cannot even deal adequately with Pakistan's military retaliation. So perhaps Mr. Trump's policy review towards South Asia is influenced by a reality check that the will and the capacity of India to do Washington's bidding vis-a-vis larger Asia-Pacific strategy has undergone a major reality check, which is perhaps reflected in the change of the acronym in the official terminology from Indo-Pacific to Asia-Pacific. Your thoughts, please.
Absolutely. Okay. So that's a very good point. I mean, if you look at, since actually 2024, or even going before when during his first term, what happened? Three things recently, of course. A Republican president came, and a Republican president at that, Mr. Trump, even very practical, very pragmatic Republican, but a New Yorker, in the real sense of the term, whereas there is no free lunch, very business oriented, profit.
No nonsense, absolutely.
No nonsense. What I'm getting out of this. I mean, if I'm talking to you for half an hour, what's in it for me? That's his first question always. What's in it for me? If I'm, making a call to a leader, a world leader, what I'm getting myself first. Because he is, he has such a personality that, that's his focus. And then, of course, America, what America is getting out of it. So that was a big change, number one. Number two, if you remember, the Pakistanis been very smart especially in some areas of policy making and some strategic thinking. Then the handover of that Afghan, terrorist, and then which was, praised during his, address to the joint session of Congress. Big deal, that helped create, just massive goodwill, not just in Washington, but across the world that, Pakistan and Pakistanis being against terrorism. They're helping us, America, the Western world, fight terrorism in every nook and corner of the world. So that sent a great message. And then, of course, what happened? All of out of the blue for the Americans. They had no idea that Mr. Modi, Prime Minister Modi, would take such a step, and actually Pahalgam. We actually in Pakistan and a lot of other international observers believe that it was a false flag operation, that Prime Minister Modi would use that terrorist incident to attack his neighbor, and a neighbor who is a major nuclear power. They may be poorer, they may have some economic and some political issues, but they still have a very strong military and they have nuclear weapons, for God's sake.
Let me briefly interrupt you to ask another follow-up question. Could another reason be, from the US perspective, that we are building up India, supporting its UN Security Council permanent membership, its membership of export control regimes. We are building it up as a world power to contain China, while it is wasting all that investment and hard power in trying to browbeat Pakistan. So it's like a waste of US investment in India rather than containing China and challenging it, which India seems unwilling and incapable of doing. It is wasting all that might and hard power in trying to browbeat Pakistan. Could that also be one of the reasons?
Absolutely. I mean, that was like my third point. After this war, which badly exposed India, the Indian leadership, their thought process, their strategic thinking, and their worldview, and of course, the worst, their military might. They can. So, with Pakistan, with all its problems, with all its economic issues, if they can't even fight for a few hours with its neighbor, and without any loss or anything. I mean, the whole world knows. I mean, so there are like four major what you call GPS systems in the world. Two GPS systems are the satellites. Galaxies or networks are the Americans. The Americans run them. One is from Russia, and one is Chinese. And I'm not sure, but what I heard, the Chinese is the best satellite system. So the whole world knows what happened on those, during those hours, which planes were down, which sites were hit. So basically, the Indians made a big, huge mistake by launching this attack. And I'm personally privy to this fact. Our ambassador here, Pakistan's ambassador, Rizwan Sheikh Saab, repeatedly, told me and others as well that, during the night, that when he was like awake all the entire night, Americans went to him, called him, and said the Indians have called the White House and they wanted to talk to you. They are ready for a ceasefire. So the Indians, he is a personal witness to it, and why would he lie? So he said the Indians approached the White House and said, yes, we are ready for a ceasefire. Can you check with the Pakistanis if they're ready? We'll go. And then, of course, that's why Mr. President Trump has maybe at least 18 or 19 times repeated this fact, and not just an idea, fact that yes, he was the one who brokered peace between these two nuclear powers. And mind you, I mean, he is constantly saying two great nuclear powers with two great leaders. So he's kind of giving both the leadership same level of praise. He's equating their military, if not like making any difference or making any distinction between their powers, is not analyzing them. So I think that was a big, huge strategic loss, not just a military loss for the Indians, but also a prestige that they had enjoyed a little bit. especially in Washington, Washingtonians. You've been here, and you've been like, interact. You did interact with lots of think tanks, academia. You covered Pentagon. Some major stories you broke actually, from the Pentagon during your stay at Voice of America. So they were enjoying some respect, some good level of degree of respect here in terms of military economy and everything. And now another thing happened after that. So that those 3 points, the Republican president Trump, the handover of one terrorist to America, this war, and then the fourth was that this tariff, the trade, policies, the U.S. trade policies. Indians been giving the White House, Trump's White House, lots of run around and kind of they're just going around, not actually listening to the White House. Okay, they don't have to listen to the White House, but they've been a very reluctant partner, so to speak, when it comes to coming up with an agreed upon trade policy between the two countries, two big countries, of course. India has the largest population. So I think that is also one of the reasons, Muhammad Ali, I think what happened here, that Mr. Trump personally is very frustrated with the Indians interlocutors on the trade issues. And not only they saw that Indians are nowhere close to countering the Chinese in the region. They're not even close to being, a small regional power. After getting, what you call. I mean, it's not an official defeat or anything, but what happened during the war, they know what happened. So they were pounded badly by the Pakistani. So they couldn't even counter Pakistan, a much smaller neighbor in terms of size, population, economy. They couldn't even do any significant damage to Pakistan. So these 4 points have been playing a major role in kind of creating a new regional order in South Asia, Southeast Asia. And as you pointed out very well, I mean, now officially they have now, backing off from calling in Asia Pacific, India Pacific anymore, which I think either Biden changed that name. So now it's back to Asia Pacific. So this is what you're witnessing is a sea change right in unfolding before your eyes, and there are certain reasons and why Pakistan is now enjoying all this attention in Washington. Because first, of course, is history. Second, is strategic thinking. We may be very bad and sometimes even very idiotic when it comes to our domestic policies and our governance issues. But I think Pakistan has played its cards well when it comes to kind of, international, how it's in the international standing and how to behave with the Committee of Nations. So, and that's kind of, paying off.
I think that's very insightful and comprehensive analysis, Mr. Rehman. But I want to know your perspective. You've been in the US for many decades, and you've seen US policy and politics at least across 8 to 9 or many more presidencies. What do you think Pakistan and Pakistanis should make or benefit from this appreciation from the Trump administration? What does this mean in tangible terms? Let me acknowledge you mentioned that he's an astute businessman, and there are no free lunches in the US politics or the political culture. So what does this mean for Pakistan, and what should Pakistan expect and offer the US so that this goodwill can be translated into something tangible, mutually beneficial, and enduring?
Okay, so a great question. So Pakistan's relationship with the US been very paradoxical, to say the least. You see a lot of dichotomies, this way or that way, and open paradoxes, contradictions. And to quote one of my friends and one of my fellow journalists, Malia Lodi, who was ambassador here as well twice, your friend as well, Dr. Malia Lodi. So I think she wrote an article once and called Pakistan a most sanctioned US ally. That was, and it's true that during those times, especially during the first senior Bush and later on, even during Clinton, Pakistan was under lots of sanctions, and probably it was supposed to be an ally, but it was, under lots of sanctions. So you see, yes, okay, if we are an ally, for God's sake, you don't put us under these sanctions. Number one. Number two, she
but
also
on a lighter note, isn't that something that Mr. Trump is also doing to a lot of other allies? He's penalizing India for being difficult on the tariff regime and for joining BRICS.
Yeah, that's a whole new, different subject. If you actually, it will be like a rabbit hole for us if you go down that road. You just, of course, this is just amazing what you see here, what's happening with even Canada. Forget about India. India is thousands of miles away. Canada was supposed to be, as he thinks, a 51st state, but if not, it's a sovereign state, but it's a very close country. So you hardly see any difference between these two countries when you travel across. But anyway, so that's a different subject. So she called Pakistan a most sanctioned ally, number one. Number two, she also made a comment during one of our discussions, actually, when she invited some community members to Washington from across the country. And she said, there are two facts that we cannot escape. Pakistan is a Muslim country, and Pakistan is a nuclear power. And the world will always see us through those lenses. So you see so these paradoxes also have something to do with the nature of our nation, the way the country was founded. So that we have to keep that in mind as well. But at the same time, Dr. Ali, I think what happens when I see it, we've been, especially we meaning Pakistanis, been very good at tactical relationships, tactical steps, transactional steps with the Americans and with the West overall. But we have failed miserably in long-term strategic thinking, even though we've been called a strategic ally, but we haven't seen. I'm talking about, yes, when you, of course, you are one of the major experts on Pakistan and U.S. military relationships. Of course, that's been there since day one. But I'm talking about the overall Pakistan-U.S. relations. We haven't been very successful in strategic thinking, and basically, getting some benefits out of these transactional steps that we've seen, some things positive. Right now, this is transactional, actually. We handed over a bad guy to the Americans. They're very happy. Yes, of course, we got some praise. Yeah, that was just one transaction. But what about the overall relationship? What are our strategic directions? Yes, we listened to you, and we honored your word, and we agreed to the ceasefire, right when you asked us to do. It's fine, good transaction. But what's coming out of this for us? Okay, you're talking about trade. Yes, we are sending our trade delegation. But, I did actually ask I get a chance when the field marshal was here with the community. I spoke with him briefly, and also with Mohsin Naqvi, the interior minister. And I said, if you remember, I think you were here back then in Washington when Holbrooke was like, he was actually very, he loved Pakistan. I must give this credit to him. He liked Pakistan. He liked Pakistanis. He, loved the culture. He was very close to the Pakistani American community as well. I met him several times at different Pakistani homes here in DC. So he was trying to create ROZs, regional opportunity zones, along the border, especially in the northern areas, and also in different underprivileged areas where America.
I think there was a commitment around $750 million as well, I remember.
And, build those ROZs where the Americans will help Pakistan establish those opportunity zones where the underprivileged population, people, communities will have opportunities to contribute and be part of the business development in Pakistan. So that was a great idea. But, when he died, of course, he had a stroke, then heart attack, poor guy, premature death. But then it was a major loss for Pakistan as well, because that whole idea kind of, fell apart and fell through the cracks. So we don't hear anything about those ideas. So I asked them, and it was before their White House meeting. So I said, why don't you ask them to revise and maybe, restore those ideas, maybe, review some of those proposals that you have made to Pakistanis before. So Pakistan now has to be more strategic. They shouldn't be just happy with the praise that's been showered on their leaders. It should be kind of a wholesome relationship. It should be a start of a wholesome relationship involving not just political relationship, military to military visits and dialogue. It should be about the people of Pakistan, and Pakistan can benefit greatly. I mean, you still have 3.5 years. You have a president who thinks very highly about not just their Pakistan's leaders, but also its people. I mean, he said Pakistanis are incredible people. They make incredible products. That may not be totally true. I don't think so. Pakistanis still are industrially or in manufacturing. We are up to the mark yet, but there are opportunities. What I see here, again, I'm sorry to say that, our focus on crypto. We're spending, now we're about to, I guess, billions of dollars. I don't know how it's going to trickle down to the most underprivileged in Pakistan, in societies, across, the communities across the country. How it's going to benefit from a small business person, a small shop owner. I don't know that. It may or it may not. But is there any strategic thinking beyond one's own immediate political interest? What I see here is a very short-term personal goals, very short-term political goals for their own parties. So Pakistan that's what, if you ask me what Pakistan needs to do right now, Pakistan has a great opportunity. America is willing to deal with Pakistan in equal terms with India. Whatever opportunities they're providing to the Indians, they're willing to provide to the Pakistanis, provided they have the capacity to absorb and to utilize and to exploit those opportunities. If I am a journalist, of course, but I also have an e-commerce company, and I do a lot of I have teams in Pakistan who help me with my business, which is like you can say IT business. If I get $1 billion contract from an American company or from American government, does Pakistan have the capacity to absorb that investment? Do we have the skilled labor? Do we have the educated people? Do we have the required infrastructure? If Mr. Trump announces $100 billion deal with Pakistan, can we really absorb that money? I mean, it's just like talking to a guy who lives in a jhopadi in Pakistan somewhere and asking him to, okay, I'm going to give you $1 million right now, go establish a business for me. So you have to have certain, Pakistan's focus should be twofold: reaching out to the Americans and the world at large for, of course, business opportunities. And I think they're doing it. And then, of course, when they get these investments, make sure that we have the capacity to match the very ferocious demands of those investments. I mean, and it's very brutal when a businessman is a businessman, like you said. If Trump looks at, yes, I give people and some other companies in Pakistan $1 billion, and what happened? What's our ROI? What's our return on investment in Pakistan? Are we getting anything else? Sir, sorry, they don't. It's not operational yet. They don't have the electricity. They don't have the water. They don't have proper roads. They can't provide their kids who want to go and contribute in this business. So these are some of the I think more important matters that I would pay attention to if I were to make any decisions.
I think it's a very valuable advice in terms of capacity building and living up to the expectations of the US, if so that this goodwill can be translated into something tangible and enduring. But let me ask you a relevant question. That you've been part of the Pakistani diaspora for several decades, and we have a very passionate and dynamic Pakistani diaspora in the US, which offers an important bridge between Pakistan and American nations. So I want your perspective that how does the Pakistani diaspora look at this new phase in Pak-US relationship? And how can they contribute and bring the two nations together?
So before the fiasco in 2022, after Imran Khan's government's collapse, before it used to be very unified front for from the Pakistani American community. Every time there's a good news, everybody was happy. Everybody was okay, celebrating. Okay, good. It's a good news. Unfortunately, and this is a reality we have to pay attention to, because of the divisions and instability in the politics and in the political matters in Pakistan, community is divided. Luckily, a huge majority of the Pakistanis and the Pakistani Americans, they still celebrate each and every big or small victory for Pakistan, good news for Pakistan. But there are pockets, and I don't think they're traitors. I don't think they don't like Pakistan anymore. They love Pakistan, but for their political preferences, there are people who've been extremely disappointed with some of the decisions back home. There are people who think, we are not on the right trajectory when it comes to, making some sound political decisions in Pakistan. So Pakistan is paying, it may be a big price, it may be a small price, but at some level, we are paying a price for those, people who are not very happy with what's happening in Pakistan. And that's not a good thing for Pakistan. There are people who, go talk to the academia, to think tanks, to the administration, to the Congress about what's happening in Pakistan. And that leaves a bad taste in mouth. It's not going to have a big impact. Pakistan, there's, as I said before, there is a major, mind shift, paradigm shift with what Americans see Pakistan with the so there has been a different mindset. There are lots of Republicans who are in power. They see Pakistan as a very positive and a very helpful partner in various categories, not just like terrorism, and in different parts of the world. And Pakistan has proven that. But I think since you asked about the community, Pakistani American community is a great community, very resourceful, very successful, very admired at every level. As you see, even the Trump administration, not just the president himself, but at every level. I mean, we were at the Mango Festival the other day, and a State Department senior official came and she said, the first and foremost, she thanked the Pakistani American diaspora. They said, they are a major strength for the Pakistani American relationship. So Pakistan, I think the decision makers, those who make policies, they still have to pay attention to some of the grievances that, you can't just, sweep them under a rug and say, no, everything is nice and dandy. No, it's not going to happen that way. However small that group is, we need to listen to them because there are beautiful people. They love Pakistan. They love Pakistani American community. They have contributed massively towards the betterment of not just the community itself, but back home, they have helped families, they have helped businesses. So I would just I wish that a very strong, very influential community can be united and unanimous in supporting Pakistan and Pakistani causes here. At this point, you see some quarters which aren't that helpful when it comes to Pakistan and Pakistan's increasing goodwill in Washington.
Okay, now let's come to the last topic of our program and discussion today. The Tom Lantos Commission on Human Rights recently held a hearing regarding Pakistan and the human rights situation there and the civil liberties. What is its significance and impact on U.S. policy and politics in days to come?
So Tom Lantos, the congressman, now deceased, the late congressman, was a very respectable member of Congress. He was the only member of Congress who was actually a Holocaust survivor. His family, Jewish family, were subject to, massive, very brutal treatments when they were back in Europe. So he became a member of Congress. And there's another small, interesting fact. There was a guy in the 80s in California. He was from California, the congressman, and his constituency, in his district, there was a Pakistani guy, Bill Qureshi, who would challenge Tom Lantos every 2 years. Every 2 years, he would stand against him. So Tom Lantos didn't have good before. I mean, when he was a member, he didn't have good memories with the Pakistani American community and even with Pakistan, because Pakistani American community would support Bill Qureshi, especially in the district, and always oppose Tom Lantos. Tom Lantos was a very powerful member of Congress. So he was about, of course, human rights and oppressed communities, freedom of speech and everything. But unfortunately, its commission has not done anything in what's happening with what's happening in Gaza, or even other parts of the world. If you look at the Middle East, have they done anything? I doubt it. But of course, they did have a hearing, the commission hearing, which must be noted that hearing in a commission, even though it's part of U.S. Congress, is not legally binding on U.S. Congress to make laws or anything. It's just an educational commission, which basically educates the members of Congress or advises them if they choose to receive some advice. But whatever happens in US Congress is important. It is significant. It becomes a reference material. Pakistan's detractors will go back when they have to attack Pakistan. They will go back, dig in, and will find this material, anti-Pakistan material about all these violations that were discussed in that hearing. So it's a bad thing.
I want to briefly ask your view, your independent view, that if the subject is, let's say, civil liberties or human rights situation in Pakistan, don't you think for any such commission to have a comprehensive, independent, and inclusive understanding of the US Congress, the commission itself is bipartisan. Shouldn't this be providing an opportunity to only one party to give its perspective on the situation in Pakistan? Don't you think a member of or representative of other political parties, which may have different perspectives, should be given an opportunity to give a more comprehensive and inclusive perspective on what's the reality in Pakistan, rather than enabling only one party to use the forum to push forward its own agenda?
Great question. And I think if you connect the dots, when you see Mr. Zulfi Bukhari, who was here, he's very close to Imran Khan's former wife, ex-wife, Jemima Goldsmith. And then, of course, you look at Tom Lantos and then the commission. And, of course, the formulation of the panel where Zulfi Bukhari, and then there was another very rabidly anti-Pakistan Afghan activist. His name was, I think, Amini, even Nasser Amini or something, and then a guy from Amnesty, and then another person who is definitely a respected international lawyer when it comes to political prisoners. So yes, it was a very one-sided panel. I don't think there was an effort made to make sure that is kind of bipartisan and it represents several views on this subject when it comes to Pakistan. But we have to remember one thing: it's not. It was just a hearing. Okay, so maybe on the request of one political party, or maybe they lobbied for it, very heavily, and they got this hearing, which is a good thing, for them. But it was not like, I don't think any report is going to come out of it. For example, you're aware of International Commission on Religious Freedom, which is also a U.S. Official commission. So they do have hearings, but when they write, these commissions write reports. When they write reports, then they include, of course, all the information from on that subject from different perspectives and point of views. Here,
for example, you are very familiar with the Congressional Research Service.
Yes.
When they do research, they cite a lot of credible, verifiable documents and perspectives. They have interviewed yours truly on a number of strategic issues as
yes.
well, on issues related to South Asian security. Yeah. But that is perhaps not the case here. So that again, allows me to reiterate my question: that what is the purpose of such a commission when it is not inclusive? Because if the US expects such hearings to add to the US soft power and international credibility, then it is all the more reason that it should be balanced, inclusive, and comprehensive.
Well, nothing happens in US Congress without lobbying. Nothing happens. No bill moves without having strong lobbies work for it. Nothing becomes a law unless there are some strong lobbies behind it. So of course, it was this particular incident was very heavily lobbied for. And when you do lobbying, it's not just like you go and talk to people. There is certain leverage that you use on those members of Congress to have them listen to your point of view, or actually agree to do something. And in this case, bipartisan, two co-chairs, I'm sure they were heavily lobbied with different levers of of influence, and they were successful. So again, going back to my point, this is something that you have to look at. Yes, of course, it will always be billed as as unilateral, as not inclusive, as being biased against Pakistan. But this material will be used by Pakistan's detractors to malign Pakistan, as point of reference. Because it is something which is official, it is a U.S. Congressional Commission, and whatever happens, it becomes a matter of record. So, is it going to be used against Pakistan in papers elsewhere? Yes. Is it going to make a big difference when it comes to U.S.-Pakistan relations? No. Is it going to help in making laws against Pakistan, or maybe use it in putting some sanctions on Pakistan? I heavily doubt, but it is damaging. It is something that should be a matter of concern back home. How do they counter it? I think it was pretty good knowledge that yes, it was going to happen. I'm not sure if Pakistan did reach out to the commission for having having some other voices as well. Did they ask these members of Congress, the co-chairs? And yes, they should also include somebody from the government of Pakistan, maybe, or from, Pakistani American community, which is with a different perspective and point of view. I don't know. But I think that should have been done as well. And they could have listened to that request. Yes, there has to be, if you see, again, going back to your own experience here in this town, you see when there's a hearing, they're always bipartisan. They always come with negative, positive, and they try. All the congressional hearings are very inclusive. So again, if they did not reach out to the commission for including another perspective, a different perspective, Pakistan's perspective, so that could have been a major failure on Pakistan and the Pakistani government, I would say.
Mr. Rehman, thank you so much for sparing your time and sharing your valuable insights into the very interesting and dynamic subject of Pak-US relations, and how and why it is changing and the way it is headed. Thank you so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thank you.